And welcome to this Rugby League World Cup semi-final review. I'm your host, Super Saiyan Blue Lucario, so grab a cup of tea and join me as we dive into all the action in the penultimate round of the tournament. First, Australia versus New Zealand, the clash of the superpowers. Both sides try to settle into the game, try to feel each other out early doors. A high kick in the swirling wind wasn't dealt with at the back by Manu, and a knock on early in the set gave the Australians an early opportunity on the Kiwis' line. But to their credit, they defended it well. Rapana dealt with a tricky crossfield kick to defuse the situation. New Zealand then worked the ball well to their left-hand side, sending Mulatalo away, but he was covered well. Somehow kept the ball in field to continue the attack, but Australia were able to deal with the danger at the back. The wind was playing up with the ball, and Ben Hunt sent a kick out on the full to give New Zealand a chance in the Kangaroos' half. But the little kick from Brandon Smith early in the tackle count was covered well by Hunt himself at the back to make up for his error. The Kiwis were playing with a very unorthodox style with their last tackle options, trying to keep the Australians guessing, while Australia were playing a much more structured and set plan kind of style of play. Papali then had his shorts ripped clean off as the Kiwis pressed the line before a kick from Brown was taken by Manu, who tipped back to Hughes to open the scores, New Zealand taking a very unlikely lead. A penalty straight from the kickoff gave the Kiwis more possession in the Australian half, but this time the high kick was dealt with. Australia responded immediately. A high kick from midfield and Addo-Carr sprinted on, coming from out of nowhere to take the ball and score in the corner. Watching that live, you never really appreciate the speed of certain individuals until you see it firsthand. And wow, that was something else. The kick was added, and the scores were level. Both sides were playing the game at relentless pace and intensity, huge hits, line speed was almost dizzying. Addo-Carr took a big hit trying to get around the defence, resulting in the first handling error after 22 minutes, giving territory to the Kiwis, who threw everything at the line, earning an accidental offside penalty as Tedesco couldn't deal with the kick. Rapana added the two, and the Kiwis were back in front. They were certainly on top in terms of territory and possession, but Australia are a side you can't switch off at all against, as a single chance is all they need. A break down the right from Martin gave the Aussies an opportunity, and they really stretched the defence, working to the corner before a huge cover tackle from Manu. But he fell off at the vital moment as on Whiten, who was able to get the ball away to Holmes to score in the corner. Two scores from almost out of nowhere, but that is the real danger when you play Australia. Conversion was missed, and it was 10-8. Both sides continued to keep up the pace. Asafa Solomona with some huge carries before the Kiwis worked the left edge. Quick hands finding Mulatalo in space to sprint clear before finding Dylan Brown in support to score 14-10 at half time. I said in build-up it would take a superhuman effort for New Zealand to win this, and they really were delivering. This is their best game at the World Cup so far. It was the best game full stop of the World Cup so far. The speed, the intensity living to another level not yet seen, and really setting the world alight. The second half started with a bang. Australia came out flying and put pressure immediately on the Kiwis' line, but for an error by Cameron Murray 10 metres out. Kiwis went straight up the other end and nearly scored as a kick wasn't dealt with, and Asafa Solomona picked up a loose ball to send the centre away, but Rapana was deemed offside at the kick and a penalty was given. Australia burst forward from the penalty, but Cleary knocked on in the tackle late in the set, and then Murray started a free-for-all, shoving Papali off the tackle and players run in, getting stuck into each other. The knock-on was changed to a New Zealand penalty. The Kiwis surged forward again, and great efforts keeping the ball alive, but Australia were well organised in defence, again shutting down the situation, showing just how hard it really is to score against them. Kiwis began to tie and struggle to get back in defence, and a penalty given for interference was capitalised on as Murray crashed over on play one to give Australia the lead again against some very tired, soft tackling attempts. Australia upped the ante even further with big hits on Manu and Asafa Solomona, forcing errors and wearing down the Kiwi defence. But for a pushing back play on Foran, the Kiwis able to survive. Ben Hunt stole the ball one-on-one to give Australia good field position, and it was evident that the Aussies were finally getting on top. The Kiwis were tiring, and it was only desperate defending holding them out. As time ticked on, the Australian squeeze tightened. The defence really restricting any yards the Kiwis could make, giving absolutely nothing away with discipline on point. New Zealand got a set restart and finally some good field position, but the last tackle kick was claimed by Addo-Carr to deny another score. Before Rapana tore through on the kick return and carnage ensued. New Zealand kept the ball alive, catching Australia cold before a kick to the corner for Hiku to dive over for a frantic finish. But he was judged to have jumped from outside of the field of play. The try was denied by the video ref. Correct call, I might add. This only spurred the Kiwis on, who found their second wind and began flying into tackles, vying to force an error, and Australia responded in kind. It was end-to-end stuff. A high kick in the last minute was the Kiwis' final chance, but Latrell Mitchell was able to claim the ball to hold on and send Australia through to the final. Man of the match for me is Papali. He was unreal from the back row for the Kiwis. He was involved in everything all night. Massive carries, huge tackles, part of everything good for them. And really did not deserve to be on the losing side at all. He was absolutely the best player on the field. Both sides served up a rugby league classic, but Australia moving on to the final next weekend. Next, England versus Samoa. No one expected a repeat of the result from day one. This had all the makings of an absolute epic. The first kickoff went out on the full and gave England good early ball. Williams latching onto a Wellesby kick but being pulled down just short before Makinson couldn't hold on to the following kick. It all came to naught after good Samoan defence. Samoa gained good yards, but on their first set again, the ball went out on the full from the kick. A sign of nerves from them in their first ever semi-final, perhaps. A set restart from markers not getting square, and Lafai was able to find an edge to get through the defence to open the scoring for Samoa, giving them a shock lead. I think the biggest shock was how the right-hand defence of England just completely wilted there. But hey, the conversion was missed, but a warning shot was fired to England. Samoa were trying to go set for set and avoiding the battle in the middle against England, and England were taking their time to settle in. The pressure of a semi-final was certainly on show, as a lot of the rugby being played was panic style rather than the composed style that we've had in all the previous games. England tried to create space with Williams, who was nearly bundled in touch, but for an offload leading to a Samoan mistake before a tip tackle penalty given away by Paolo, for which he received a yellow card. A dangerous tackle. Was it a yellow card? I think because he didn't really have control of the player as he put him down. He just literally just threw him down. That's where the danger comes in, which is where the yellow card is given. Letter of the law, it is a yellow card. It could have been worse had he driven the guy into the Burgess into the ground, but he didn't. He just let go and had no control. So while it is dangerous, it is only a yellow card by the letter of the law. The pressure came to naught. Crichton getting a hand to the pass to shut down the attack. A clash of heads from two Samoan players saw them lose both Kathusi and Brown to HIAs. Brown, unfortunately, failing his and unable to return. This really did disrupt the play for a while. Samoa still looked threatening, trying to attack England's edges, but a superb tackle from Whitehead dumped Seward in touch to give England field position. England nearly made it count. Good link-up play with Radley and Tompkins shipping the ball out wide to find Watkins, who crossed, but was adjudged to have knocked on in the act of scoring. A great cover tackle from Tim Lafai. A Tompkins kick nearly found Farnworth, but he was then unable to regather possession. Samoa again surviving. You felt England were building into the game finally, and off the back of a penalty at the ruck run by Makinson, giving good territory for them, Williams was able to burst through the defence, finding Whitehead in support to score and give England the lead. England surged forwards, and Dom Young earned a penalty for being shepherded off the ball, competing for a high kick. Unfortunately for England, the last tackle option was poor. Kick from Wellesby far too strong for anyone to really compete for it. Samoa were really sensing something in the middle and found England a little slow in defence, gaining yards before Liggy Sao went down the blind side, racing over to slide over the line. Once again, England's right-hand side of defence really switching off, and a very, very soft try to concede. The conversion was added, and England were 10-6 down. Samoa started piling the pressure on England. Some of the passes, more than a little suspect, but not being called for. And they were really pressuring the England line, targeting quick plays at the England pack. It was a real battle, one that England needed to rise to, and were at the time not handling as well as needed. The pressure of the occasion getting to them a bit. Needed to change things in the second half. A penalty on the first set for Samoa gave them a golden opportunity, but England somehow survived. The last tackle, Samoa ran it and created a 5-on-1. The final pass choice was really poor, Makinson diving on the ball. England then pushed forward and earned a repeat set of their own, putting pressure on the Samoan line. Tim Laffey unable to take the catch, and Bateman was on hand to score. 12-10 to England. Samoa, though, wouldn't go away, and off the back of a penalty, had ball in England's line again running on the last tackle, keeping the ball alive with sensational offloads, eventually finding Crichton to score. I have no idea how Paolo got the ball away, but that was out the top drawer. Honestly, if there's a try to watch of this game, you have to watch that one. It was superb from Samoa. 16-12 to Samoa. An error at the back from Dom Young after relentless Samoan pressure gave England real problems, and Laffey was able to score again in the corner, extending the lead to 8 points. Once more, England's right-hand edge really letting them down. England finally lifted the tempo in attack and defence, flying up in the tackles and finally getting some field position on the back of it, just overshooting the option on the last. But you could sense that England were finally playing the game that they had been playing in previous games, just taking them a bit too long in this game so far. An error forced on the second play gave England a chance as Dom Young went desperately close before an early kick nearly found Whitehead, but Samoa somehow got the ball and forced a dropout instead. A kick from Wellesby then nearly resulted in a try, bouncing back for Bateman, but the ball hit the touchline before bouncing back. Again, desperately close. England, though, then got a penalty for offside in the build-up to this kick and attacked the line, and then found their way through with Farnworth bursting through 6 defenders to give them hope. 17 minutes to go at 2018. A penalty for attacking the kicker off the ball, while slightly soft, by the letter of the law, English kicker, was still in the air. He was then hit. It was pushed, yes, it was a bit of a push, it was a soft push, but he pushed him on the air. 3 seconds after the kick, that is late by the letter of the law. All the people complaining and bitching and moaning about that kick, it's a penalty in the rules of the game. Okay? Good. This gave Makinson a shot at goal from bang in front to level the scores with 10 minutes to go. And nerves was certainly being shredded. England kept lifting. It looked like Samoa were really tiring as the line speed was really being ramped up by England, who may have sensed something. But an interception by Crichton put Samoa back in front with just a few minutes to play, and it seemed like game over. Not for England, though. A short kickoff gave England the ball again, but big pressure on the last tackle, the attacking set fell flat. Just when it seemed all hope was gone, George Williams burst away, finding Farnworth in support to race over the line to score. Makinson holding his nerve to add the extras, and it was all square again with 70 seconds left. And Whitehead nearly grabbed a winner on the death, bursting through again, but unfortunately Samoa were able to clear up at the back, and extra time was forced for the first time in the World Cup. England received the ball at the start of extra time, and a knock-on from Wellesby gave Samoa the first big chance, working their way to the post, but the drop goal attempt was charged down. The following set, a poor forward pass gave Samoa yet another crack. This time, Crichton found the winner. A drop goal from range to win the game and send Samoa through to their first ever World Cup final. Man of the match for me, Tim Laffey. He wasn't even in the squad before the World Cup started. He only joined after 3 bad injuries to the Samoan team members in game 1 against England. And he caused nightmares on their left attacking edge all day. Scored 2 brilliant tries and made a desperate try-saving tackle on Watkins to deny him in the corner. It was crucial to the Samoan success. So let's have a look at what we have. Both of my semi-final predictions narrowly wrong. The total margin of scores in the semi-finals was 3 points. More you could have hoped for going into the weekend. I had New Zealand to win in extra time. It didn't go to extra time, but it was the finest of margins that game. The finest of margins. Australia narrowly coming out on top. Well, in the other semi-final, it probably would have been a travesty had England won. And that's coming as an England fan here because Samoa had the game of their lives. Gave absolutely everything. And England, it was the worst performance they have delivered all tournaments. And you can say all you like about selections. I know a lot of fans are saying, oh, if certain players from my team had been in the England squad, would it have made a difference? Probably not. The reality is England didn't show up on the day. Too many big key players played poorly on this day. I think it's the last time we'll see certain players in England shirts after this World Cup. And we need to start building to 2025 for the next one. I think young players should be given a chance. I do not think necessarily that it's Wayne's fault. You could see in the post-match interview how devastated he was by the defeats. And you have to look at it as like, the team he picked was more than good enough to win. They didn't perform. Not all of them. Not all of them. You can't fault like effort. The problem was they were overplaying. And I'll say it explicit. I'm not going to name names here, but the right-hand edge of defense was atrocious today. Sometimes you can get away with 1 or 2 players having an off day, but too many people did. There were some highlights, though. Elliot Whitehead was phenomenal for England. Mike Cooper had probably one of his best games in an England shirt as well, really lifting the tempo when he came on. George Williams was outstanding as well. Just unfortunately, too many people were off the pace. And hindsight's 2020. We can think about what we could have done, what could have worked maybe in the situations. I have ideas about what I think might have worked better. I think maybe instead of 4 forwards on the bench, we were crying out for either Sneed or Akers, potentially. It looked like when Samoa was tiring, there were opportunities around the ruck area, and if we had someone a bit more energy, a bit more pace around there, we could have maybe exploited that a bit better. But the reality is we came within a hair's breadth. It was mistakes at crucial times and soft defense, giving up for certain tries. That was the reason. That is the reason England lost. Too many people not turning up and just individual errors, unfortunately. But that takes nothing away from Samoa. Like I said, they had the absolute game of their lives. And their transformation from day 1 on the tournament to now has been unreal. Which means we now have a final between Australia and Samoa. I didn't leave this as a prediction in my tournament predictions, but I will give one here. Unfortunately, I'm going to say 42-4 to Australia. Samoa gave their absolute best, and it took an off day from England, and a bad off day at that, and extra time for them to win. They won't get so lucky against Australia. Australia's defense is not going to be as forgiving as the England defense was today. They won't make the same amount of errors as England did today. Or if they do make errors, they are more than good enough to cope with them. It would have taken England playing to the same level as they had in earlier games of the tournament to even run the game close and potentially win in a narrow ball game. But I don't think Samoa have that extra level to rise to because they need to find it. If they are going to compete in the World Cup final, they need to find an extra level somehow, somewhere. They have quality in the side. They need Jerome Luai to play his best game. They need Milford to play his best. They need every single one to 17, to have their best games and find that extra level if they're going to push Australia close. And unfortunately, I don't see it. I genuinely don't. They will try. They'll give everything they've got, but the occasion will be too much. And Australia have the experience at winning finals and will be far too strong. So I'm predicting it's going to be a 12th World Cup win for Australia. What about you guys? Did you enjoy the semi-finals? If so, why? If not, why not? Let me know in the comments down below who you think will win between Australia and Samoa in the final. And make sure you smash that like button and subscribe for more content every week. And until next time, it's time for me to have a cup of tea.